Good afternoon, my friends, or good evening, depending on what part of the world you're from. This is the second in a series of masterclass lessons for beginners. Those of you who've bought a guitar and haven't got a damn clue what to do with it. But I'm here to help you solve that problem. Right, before I go any further, just to remind everybody that on Saturday, the 2nd of March, I've got another live stream going out at 9 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. That's a live stream where I'll be sitting here with all my guitars, you know, bass guitars, ukuleles, and you can fire whatever questions you like at me, all right? Anything you like. Do you know this? Do you know that? How do I play this? What am I doing wrong here? Blah, 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 etc. Right, straight to this lesson. We started last week looking at chord patterns, basic stuff on how to hold your guitar, how to tune the guitar, that type of thing. And I want to go into a little bit more detail now. I'm going to bring your attention back to this piece of paper. Now, this piece of paper is the one that I said you would refer, you know, even in your whole of your musical career, you will always come back to something like this. What are these? These are chord progressions. For those people who are new to this channel or new to this particular series of lessons that I'm doing on the Wednesdays for beginners, you'll find this and some of the paperwork on the previous one, Masterclass number 1. What does it say? The basics. That was tuning up and all that. Now we're going to move a little bit further on. Okay, now today there's some important things that you don't do. All right, things that you must not do, otherwise it'll just cock everything up. So let's have a look at those things first, shall we? Right, first thing, do not hold your plectrum incorrectly. Okay, now holding a plec, I know it sounds daft, but it's a bit more fiddly than you think. What size plec should you use? Should you use a thin one? Should you use a thick one? Well, I use a 0.73. Okay, so it's not too thick, it's not too thin, and it's, if I want a bit more, say I'm doing a little solo passage, I'll tend to spin it round and I'll use the sort of thicker end with the bit you'd normally grip onto. And if I'm strumming where there's a bit more flexibility, I'll use that. You know, seasoned players tend to do that. Will the plec always move around in your fingers? Yes, it's just the nature of the beast, and eventually you'll just sort of get used to being able to, you know, get it back at the right angle. Thing to do is to just moisten your fingers if you're turning the pages of a book before you start playing, and that'll help a little bit. Okay, so what you don't do is when you're playing, don't hold the plec too tightly. This is really, really important, or as a politician would say, this is really, really important. You're not allowed to point anymore. I'm going to point. This is really important. Okay, so what are we going to do? Let the plec flit across the strings. That's a nice word, flit. Okay, like this. Give it, you want to hold it tight enough that it doesn't fall out of your fingers, but not too tight that it does this and causes a barb effect where it just blocks in between the strings and it makes it really uncomfortable. So, and keep your fingers out. Don't hold your plec like this, okay, because you're going to need these fingers later on. You may think it's going to help you to stop the plec moving around, but I promise you now, it's going to really hinder all your future playing. Hold it between your thumb and your first finger and let your other three fingers splay out like a fan. Much nicer to play, much more even. Don't play like this when you're playing acoustic guitars. A lot of players do this. It's like a monkey scraping his bloody knuckles against the ground. We don't want that, you know. It hurts. You'll just catch them on your knuckles. Don't do that. Keep them nice and splayed out, because eventually you'll want to use those fingers as well as the plec. So let's start as we mean to go on. The other thing about the plectrum, when you're strumming, don't point the plec in the direction. A lot of people tend to do this and they hold the plec down, or they'll do it like this. Remember, it must flit across the strings. Okay, now the first thing we'll just do a nice steady rhythm as we did last time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Don't bother pressing any chords down yet. Just get this right hand or left hand if you play the other way around. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, I want you to chant. You don't have to say it out loud, but I want you to think this in your head, because we're going to concentrate on how to get from one chord to the other. All right. What we don't want to do is this. I'm going to refer to the first 4 chords on the sheet that we did last week: G, E minor, A minor, and D7. I'm going to refer to those 4 in particular, but what I'm about to tell you, you know, is you use that on every chord you will ever play, ever. All right. So I'm looking at the first 4 chords: G, E minor, A minor, and D7. Okay. Now, what we want to do when we're playing, the first thing you'll do when you've got the hang of it, you'll tend to go like this. Which is what we all do. We all did it. I did it. You know, you get on the chord and you say, hooray, I've got there. And you whack hell out of it. And then you have a big gap before you change chord. Well, we can't do that. We've got to keep a nice, steady rhythm. And I want you to do this. I want you to put your fingers on the first chord, in this case G. And we're going to change to an E minor. And I want you to just think of this. Don't play anything. I want you to do this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. Okay, I'll do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. And while you're off, you're making the next shape, which in this case is an E minor, and we'll put those fingers down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off to an A minor. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. Now, why didn't I bring that first finger off when I'm going to the D7th? Well, that's because it's common to both A minor and D7, so we might as well leave that one on. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off. 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 1. Okay, now what we don't want to do as well is we don't want to play all the stuff that comes before the change. We want to just hone in on the change. So if you think about it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off 1. So the last downbeat is on beat 4, which is on the G, and then we're going to come off, and then we're going to come down on the new chord. 4 and 1, 4 and 1, 4 and 1. Keep that in your head. 4 and 1. And then we're going to do something like this. Now this refers to those 4 chords. We're going to practice the last downbeat on the G. We're going to come up with nothing on, and then we're going to come down on the E minor. So our practice schedule for those 4 chords is this. We're just going for the chord change. All right, we're not worrying about the strum before or after. We're looking at the last beat on the G in this case, the upstroke where you've got no fingers on but we still hit the strings, and then down on the E minor. And we just practice that 4 and 1. Now you can say 4 and 1 if you like, or you can just say down, up, down. It doesn't matter as long as you know that it's referring to beat 4 and beat 1 of the new bar. Okay, I'll do it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and on the 1 again. Always got to be on the new chord for the 1. Let's do it again. 4 and 1. Oh, clearly we're going to strum on that for a while, but eventually we're going to come to the next chord change, which in this case is going from our E minor to A minor. So we'll practice going from E minor to A minor in the same way. We'll go 4 and 1. 4 and 1. From this angle, 4 and 1. One more time, 4 and 1. Or you can say, as I said before, down, up, down. And make sure the upstroke, you're playing the strings open. Don't worry about the open strings, that's all part of playing an acoustic guitar in this style, all right? Finally, we've got an A minor, well not finally, we've got an A minor to D7th next. Let's look at the chord. There's our A minor and there's our D7th. We'll notice that this finger here, it's common to both, so we'll leave that on. So we'll go 4 and 1, 4 and 1, 4 and 1, or down, up, down, down, up, down. And also, can you see the way I'm muting that bass string? Because whenever we play a D of any kind, we don't want to hear that bass string, so we just let our thumb rest on top of the string, thus killing the note. All right, so let's recap. G to E minor, E minor to A minor, A minor to D7th, and then of course we've got to go back to G to begin the cycle again. Now, it's a trick when you look at D7th, which is the final chord of that sequence. If you look at it, look at the way the fingers are orientated like this. It's like a squashed up G. So in my head, when I was younger, I always used to think that they're going to go bing, and these fingers that are here will bounce up to there, and this one that was there will just move along. So ding, da, da. Okay? And once you see how these patterns work, it's like tumble turn in swimming, I think. People have been swimming, you know, keeping that speed going when you're going from one direction to the other. Well, changing chords is a bit like that ish. All right, so we try it again. So from G to E minor, E minor to A minor, A minor to D7th, and then D7th back to G. Now we'll put the strum in. We'll do one bar of each one. What does that mean? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 a bit of speed. You see the way everything just blends in nicely. Remember, we don't want to do this. We got to keep it smooth, and if that means going really slow until you get it, then that's what you have to do. Now remember that what I've just done applies to every single chord sequence that you will ever play. All right, every single one. Very, very important. Now, if you want to screenshot this, you can, because I've just explained it. But if you want to, I'll get my head out of the way. Bink, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bink, screenshot that. Okay, so we've looked at that. Let's have another look. When you're trying to learn to play a song as well, don't try and do it all in one go. Pick on a couple of chords. So let's pick a couple more chords from this. Say we were going to play a song with the, say here. Let's have a look at E, A, and B7th. These are used in blues and loads of rock and roll and hundreds and hundreds of songs. Now, people struggle to get from an E to a B7th or an A to a B7th. So let's see how we can get to that. Sorry if I just knocked the mic. How we can get that change done with relative ease. Let's look at going from an E to a B7th. All right. So an E is this chord, and a B7th is this one. Now, it looks like a tricky chord, but it's not really if you know how to get to the next shape. So there's our E. Now if you want to get to a B7th, you bring this finger up and you bring this one down. All right, and then your little finger will go dink right the way down there, all lined up. And remember, bring your elbow out so we can keep them near the frets. Okay, don't do this and have your elbow in and splay them. If you do, your fingers will splay out that way. Elbow out so you can get the fingers near the frets. All right. See the way it came off? But I'm thinking in terms of that one's going to go up, this one's going to come down. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now that's a whole song, by the way, that what I've just played. Mavericks. There goes my happiness again. That's all it is from the beginning to the end. It is. Play along, you watch it, you do it. Do what I've just said, and you've got a whole song there in your repertoire if you can just change from an E to a B7th. All right, it's really important. Again, practice it slowly like we did before. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 off 1 and 2 and 3. Right, so we've looked at that. What else are we going to look at? when you're playing, let's try, do you know what an arpeggio is? I discussed this the other day in a sort of jokey way. It's not an Italian footballer. All it means is, say we were going to play an A minor, like this. And instead of strumming down, we'd go, okay? Like, say I was going to do House of the Rising Sun. Those, where you got single notes in rapid succession, they're called arpeggios. It just means you're playing single notes as part of a chord. That's all it means. Now, we should try, I'm not sure whether we should try that now. Tell you what we will try now. Because a lot of people out there want to look at some finger picking. So let's do something nice and simple. It's like arpeggios. In fact, it is an arpeggio, but we're going to use our fingers in order to play. So, and we're only going to use 4 strings, so don't run off and be fearful of what we're going to do. Let's play a D chord, all right? There's a D. Okay? And I want you to do this. Put your thumb on your 4th string here, and your 3 fingers will be grouped 1, 2 and 3. They'll always play these 3 strings, okay? And this is a beautiful little exercise, but when I play it, you'll say, hang on, I've heard that before. Okay? You're going to play a D. And I just want you to do this. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now, did you hear that buzz then when I hit the 2? That's because my finger wasn't near the fret. I went, and it happens to the best of us. Fingers near the frets. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. And instead of playing a full G like this, because we're only playing the first 4 strings, i.e. 1, 2, 3 and 4, just bring your 3rd finger there. Sounds like REM, doesn't it? You know, everybody hurts. That's exactly what it is. All right. It just popped into my head as I was playing. I thought, I've heard that before, and there we go. Hundreds of other songs as well. So I want you to do it like this. I want you to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And on the last 6, bring your fingers off like we did before. Da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then put your 1st finger on the 1st string at the 3rd fret. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. And I'm exaggerating to make a point. Let's play an A minor. Let's play a D. Let's play an E minor. And then a D. But we're only playing the same 4 strings, just to give, you know, so you've got something to play. This is your introduction to picking. Training each finger, 1, 2 and 3, which string it lives on, which finger services which particular string. This finger will always look after the 3rd, this finger will always look after the 2nd, and this finger will always look after the 1st. There are, slight variations to that particular rule, but 9 times out of 10, that's what happens, and your thumb will play these 3. We're just concentrating on the 4th string for now, just to so we can get the hang of it, okay? So D, G. Okay, so try that. That's a good thing to do. I think we've sort of covered most of the things. Let's look at a couple of things that I want you to do. We've looked at a couple of things I don't want you to do. These are the things you must do. Make sure the nails on your left hand are short. Don't have long nails, because if you can't get your fingertip to touch the fretboard, fingerboard, then your fingers are going to do that. It feels uncomfortable, it's horrible, it hurts, and it'll sound crap. Alright, so we don't want to do that. Make sure you use the tips of your fingers. Imagine your fingertips are ballet dancers' toes, dancing. We want to keep tips of your fingers so the strings run underneath, nice and even, without making any noises. Fingers near the frets, as I talked about before, making sure that your fingertips are as near as they can possibly be. What else have we got here? Keep your guitar nice and upright. Try to avoid the tendency to do this and look at what you're doing. If you do, your fingers will slop all over the strings. And that's about it for this lesson, okay? Because you've got plenty to be getting along with. You've got all these chords to do, all right? And then we can look at some songs. Now, on Saturday, 2nd of March, as I said before, it's I'm doing another live stream where you can fire questions at me. Fire questions at me about this if you like. If you're watching this and there's anything you don't understand, you know, just get in touch. You know, ask me on live online or message me. Do whatever you like. I'm here for you folks. What else was I going to say? I've got 29,000 subscribers now, which is cool, but it's annoying. I've got OCD, and that means I need 30,000 quick. So I'm relying on you lot to spread the word and get me that other 1,000 before, where are we? I think before the 10th of March. I'm only kidding. But listen, thanks for your company. Hope you've enjoyed that on Saturday live stream. And for those people that are a little bit further advanced that are watching me for the first time, you know, I've got about 250 videos that you can go back at from, you know, people say to me, what sort of guitarist are you? And do you play, is it acoustic guitar or electric guitar? I'm an eclectic guitarist. Does that sound cool? An eclectic guitarist. I play all sorts of different styles. You know, we can do up to grade A classical, we can do like Cavatina, and then we could do, you know, Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix, or we can do Dolly Parton, or we can do blues. You know, I'm a bit of an 8 out of 10 at most styles. I'm not a 10 out of 10 at any one. I'm a pretty solid 8 on most. Okay, so I think that's a good way to be. So if you look back at my vids, if you've watched this and you have a look back, because there will be something there for you, and all the paperwork that accompanies these tutorials is free. Okay, you will never pay for anything. All right, and on that positive note, I will love you and leave you, and I shall hope you will join me on Saturday, the 2nd of March, or if you missed that one, it's the first Saturday of every month at 9 o'clock GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, first Saturday of every month. So all being well, I'll see you all on Saturday. Until then, take care. Bye bye.